Welcome to Pop Chat. My name is Annette Tarpley. I'm the founder of the Passion of Poetry as well as the host for this Pop Chat this evening. And I'm very pleased and thrilled to have with me this evening the Lantern Carrier from the UK. So, welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Annette. Very pleased to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. And I've been excited because I heard you the other night. You kind of turned me on to that little event the other night.
Indeed,
Um,
indeed.
yes,
The
you did.
Hurricane Cafe.
Yes, yes, that was fun. And so if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been there. So thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So what I usually do is I have you actually introduce yourself and tell us about you and whatever you want us to know about whatever it is you wanted to divulge. If you wanted to divulge things from your bio, um, um, who you are, you as a writer, so on and so forth. And so I'm going to give the stage to you, dear sir, and let's find out more about you.
Thank you. Well, my name is Kingsley. My last name Hutchinson. I come from a British colony called Grenada in the Caribbean. I was born in a cute little village where everyone is cheerful and happy and I would say very loving. And my mother herself was very selfless and loving. And I took a lot from her. In terms of poetry, I was writing since I was 4 years old, and English is by far my best subject at school. Everyone has a best subject at school, and English was by far my best subject at school. I left school quite early. I became a policeman in the Grenada. I was in the police force for 3 years and 6 months. And at the age of 21, I traveled to England where I became a nurse. During my teens, I was writing a lot. I was reading a lot, flash fiction, science fiction, autobiographies, romance, Western, the great English poets, Shakespeare, Keats, Byron, Shelley, all those guys. I kind of grew up with them. And so poetry was in my blood. I came to England and I kind of drifted for a while, spent some time with my studies, became a nurse, qualified in two areas like an RN and something called an RMN, which means psychiatry. So I'm doubly trained and I specialized in coronary care. And in between, I was writing, but not so much. My writing increased tenfold when I took up the meditative life. I met a spiritual man, and he had a huge influence of my life, and my whole life changed. And then I started writing much, much more, creating a kind of a change in my genre because I began to write more inspirational, motivational, and metaphysical style poetry. Although essentially, I think of myself as a creative writer, and I could do most things really. So I was on the poetry scene. I am on the poetry scene. I have been on the poetry scene for 22, 23 years and on Zoom for the last 4 years. So I have friends on Zoom and I have friends. I go to lots of public venues. So I'm hardly having any rest. As in terms of writing, it comes as a gift to me. I think much of it is based on my meditative life, my reading, the mystics like Rumi, Hafiz, and so forth. So poetry comes very, very natural to me. I'm always writing. Today itself, I've already done two poems. So there you are. I write not like most people say in their interviews. That is to say, I've met many friends who talk about pain and healing and therapy and all those things. I write essentially to serve. I think of myself as the soul. I'm a servant of a higher thing. We can call it the most high, you can call it love. And my purpose is to serve, and I do that through light and beauty. So I write to illumine, to encourage, to inspire, to elevate, to reach the heart. This is the favorite thing I like to say, So what people feel it in my style is kind of thing you feel in the heart. The poetry, which is for the mind, which is essentially very effective. And then there's a type of poetry which you may go away with it thinking you felt, and the next day you said, wow, I felt that. So that is a poetry of the heart. Essentially, I'm trying to reach the heart with messages which I cloak in my words. to elevate humans.
Yes, very good. You know, we have a lot in common, you and I. I
Thank you.
don't know if I don't know if you knew that or not. So I'm a nurse too. I've been a nurse for 40 some years.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I was, ER nurse for many years. I did forensics. I did lots of stuff. Then I went back to
Wow.
school 14 years ago and became a nurse practitioner. So
Wow.
I've been doing that the last 14 years. So right now I'm doing both nurse practitioner and RN work. But as a nurse practitioner, although I'm board certified in family medicine, I am not psych certified, but I've done a lot of psychiatry. So,
Mhm.
so we've got lots of things that are like. It sounds like you've always kind of been a writer, and so me too.
Yes, I have, I have two books and I've written a third one, which is unpublished. It's called Maxims for Children, a look at the teachings of Jesus the Christ. I'm basically explaining spirituality in a simple way for children,
That's
using the Sermon on the Mount, essentially, and the words of the Christ.
very good, very good. But we have a lot in common. If you live close by, we could be like best buds. We could hang out or something.
I'm coming to America in August, inshallah. I've been to the New York Poetry Festival twice, and I've done poetry in Kenya and a couple of other places as well.
You're coming to the US when?
August.
August, and you're going to Charlotte?
And say that again.
Where are you going to go in the United
I
States?
tend to be in Jamaica, Queens, because I'm part of a large spiritual community. We tend to meet like it's international. So you have like 1,400 people from many countries around the world, and because I've been there with them for 41 years, I know so many people. So then there is the spirit of camaraderie, and some of them are poets. Well, most spiritual people are into
How
poetry.
do I fit in there? I'm not gonna get the invitation to go. I don't so you're gonna have to sneak me in. I can pretend to be a persona.
Prasanna, you mean
Whatever.
the
I just
Sunday the Sunday host? That's what.
whatever whatever I need to get into the group, whatever you
uh,
need.
we tend to invite people from time to time, but you're in Los Angeles, right?
No, I'm in Virginia.
Oh, that's not far. Just across the water.
Yeah, but you're gonna be in New York City?
Well, I go to New York City. My brother lives there. I tend to visit him um, a lot. But Jamaica is just on the well, Jamaica. It's just a little on the outskirts. You take an EOF train from Manhattan, and you're there in like 20 minutes.
Wow, wow.
It's in Queens.
Did you ever hear of the Keurig cups? The
The
Keurig
current
Keurig coffee cups. Have you ever heard of those? That machine,
no,
it's a Keurig, and you put your little pot in there, and then you make your cup of coffee. You've never heard of that?
probably. I'm not too familiar with it. No.
One of the flavors that they have is Jamaican me crazy. It smells like Jamaica, and it's Jamaican me crazy.
You're making me crazy. I like that.
I know I do too. So, yeah, and you're not making me crazy, but I just thought.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm going to go through some comments because we already have a few. Somebody said, "Yay!" They're glad that they are here in time. And Angie, hi Angie, nice to see you, dear. She's visiting us this evening. Jill Tate is in the room. She's from the UK. We
Okay.
have two wonderful artists together. Happy World Poet today, our poetry day today.
In
As I said,
yesterday, I think it was.
it
Well,
was
poetry.
yesterday, but
It
you
was,
know what? We can just celebrate it however we want. If we want to
of
go into
course,
the next day,
of
yeah,
course.
it's an extended holiday.
Yes, we say the same thing with Women's International Day and Black History Day. We call it 365.
It's funny.
Ah,
And please, if you are making comments, please sign the end of your comment so we know who you are. Otherwise, you just show up as another Facebook user, and we don't want you to speak.
I
Any
invited some people, but I can't see anyone else apart from you, so I'm not sure who's there. So, my greetings to everyone, and my thank you to everyone for turning up.
Jill
Yeah.
says you speak beautifully. That's because Jill's got a big old accent. Yes, she does. She's got the southern accent of kind of the UK. I don't know. But
Is
I
she
love
is she in
Jill.
the UK?
She is.
Okay.
I don't remember where you're at, Jill. She's up like on the border and almost in, is it Ireland maybe? I can't remember. Tell us, Jill.
There is a Jill that does a GMFA. That's a poetry group. She's one of the hosts of the poetry groups. Um, um, but I don't know. There are so many Jills.
Yes, there are. And Jill went up the hill.
You're taking me back to my childhood. But that's good.
Yeah. Sarfraz Ahmad, who I co-wrote my second book with him. He is also from the UK, also known as a romantic poet. I don't know if you know Sarfraz. Lovely Negro.
The
He
romantic poets.
this
England School of Romantic Poets.
yes, he's very romantic. He's yeah, we both wrote a bunch of we wrote some collaborative things together too. Greg Etzel's here, so hey Greg. And we're just gonna curse it down real quick. Jill's here, they're talking back and forth. And then we have ah Raul's here, and Raul is going to be Mr. James is going to be on in a couple days or so, maybe 4. He's catch that one. He is amazing. He's probably one of the most intelligent people I know. Um,
That's nice.
my circle is very small, though. Just saying. No, I'm just teasing. I don't want to. I don't
I
want to
know.
diminish his intellectual ability, but when he writes, he's very deep. He's amazing.
Wow.
And then we have
Did you
Jill.
say Rawl?
Yeah, you know Raul.
Yes, I know him. He's here, is he?
Yeah, well, he was at least.
Okay. Hi, Rawl.
So, yep. So he's here. And then whoever else is here, they might not be commenting. I'm going to get rid of that comment, and what I would like to do is actually hear some of your work. And I you impressed me the other night because I really felt like I liked your work just about more.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from you, it meant a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Well, it's the truth. That's how I felt. So oh, look at Surfraz is just doing that. He's trying to earn brownie points. Okay, you get 10 brownie points, Surfraz. Yeah, so he's always so complimentary. Um, so in the beginning of the show, we had the intro video that had a couple of your books, and I think you just said you were coming out with your third.
Yes.
Is it right?
Maxims for children. Look at the teachings of Jesus the Christ.
Right. That's right. Sermon on the Mount.
Yes, mostly from it and other aspect of Christ's teachings.
Is any of it poetic or no?
Very poetic. In fact, I was reading about someone who was talking about it only yesterday. They said that the works of the Christ is very poetic. I have a Bible which I got as a gift for outstanding studies many, many years ago, but not so much about me, but the book itself. It's a huge Bible, King James Version, but whenever the Christ speak, it's in red. So I'm using only the red writings for that particular book.
The red edition. Yeah.
No, when it's only when Christ is speaking. When anyone else speaks, it's
Yeah.
not in red.
Right. It's called I think they call it the red edition, at least in the United
Probably.
States. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been around for a while here.
Oh,
Um, I can remember. I'm sure I have them in the other room. Books like
oh,
that where everything he says is in
yeah.
red.
Yeah. I mean, he's very poetic. I mean, Psalms are poetic too. So, spiritual people have a natural tendency for poetry, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Psalms is very poetic, and um, the whole thing is poetic. right?
Yes.
From the creation to the,
Well, we're taking it to another level. They call it a dance, you know. And if you were reading a Rumi, it's like sheer poetry in motion.
there you go. There you go.
Eh,
Yeah. Like when Jesus did Sermon on the Mount, these days that's called an open mic, right?
Indeed, indeed. You know, the Beatitudes of Christ, I mean, it's
Those
been
are
so
beautiful.
meaningful to so many people.
Beatitudes are gorgeous. I love that. So what I'm going to do is give the stage back to you. If you'd like to do a couple works for us, that would be wonderful. We can just sit back and be entertained by your wonderful words. So I'm going to give you the stage, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will do a poem which was written about words initially. So it's quite appropriate. I changed it slightly. Instead of words, I changed the word to love. And once I changed it to love, I adjusted a couple of things. So it's called the miracle of love. The day I tasted the miracle of love, I was enthralled by her sweetness and character. Soaring like an eagle on silvery wings, I saw her dancing in the firmament, her smiles and laughter filling the air with sweetest joy. At nights I kissed the lapis lazuli of an enchanting moonlight, heralding the sunrise, caressing the beauty of my dreams. Daybreak summoned the sweet lamp of my heart, scribbling verses to the majesty of the sun. King David's psalms whispers softly, the symphony of sparrows in my core. My spirit melts, bathing in the beatitudes of the one called Christ. My tongue becomes an artist, painting love songs to my lips, whose wine echoes the drunken sweetness of the soul. That was the first one. Second one is called My Mother's Spirit. I've written about 60 poems for mom, and I really, really respect and admire women. This is a short one for my mom. I admired my mother's courage, resilience, and sacrifice. Sometimes lost in the sweet wine of adversities, she, like Maya Angelou, like so many others, fell many a time. Yet she rose undaunted, a soaring phoenix, striving to reconnect with paradise. So many candles of afflictions came her way, yet I don't think she ever stopped loving. Even if at times, as her son, I sense her cries, tears soaring to the infinite, she did not surrender to the bittersweet challenges that came her way. Rather, I saw her cute smile, the light of her heart, her invisible hands held upright in prayer, knowing intuitively that she was held by love's grace, the very act of mercy that sustained her and her seven wonderful children. My mother served soulfully and diligently to the very end, pacing her way to the shrine of holiness to confer with the flowering white lotuses of love. That is the two. I think you wanted two. First two.
Yes, and they are both just so beautiful. You do. You write very well, and they're very meaningful. And yeah, they're beautiful. Is your mother still alive? Has she passed?
She is in heaven now, and yeah, and we were very much together as a family, and she gave us a lot of her beauty and selfless sacrifice, and she lived a life of sacrifice all her life. I went home into Grenada when she passed. We took her to Texas, America, England, etc. But she passed in her own country, and I was being the eldest, I was kind of chief, so we gave her a fancy casket and so many flowers, and the prime minister and his wife came, and the church was full, and we designed our own pamphlet in the church with eulogies and songs, and so beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah, everything went, very smoothly.
Was she a writer? Your mom? Was she a writer?
She wasn't a writer. I wouldn't call my mom an educator in the true sense, but she gave us all an education. My mom was pregnant at 16, and life, she experienced some difficulties. She was a single mom, I was born when she was 17, and then she basically worked all her life because there were seven of us. The good thing is that my sister Pearl came 5 years after me because I guess my mom was too busy trying to figure out how to live a life at 17 years of age with one child, And she moved into the city. I was born in the village, and there you are. But she sent us to school, and the others did very, very well. My brother was a headmaster. I had a sister who was a journalist, and the others did well in their own individual way. My brother was a boat builder and house builder and things like that. Another one was a fisherman. We all did different things. I was a policeman, then I traveled to England and became a nurse.
I know you've had a very, really, very diverse career, really, just what you've done. And I don't see you as a policeman for some reason. I'm just trying to picture it in my mind.
Well, I didn't quite, you're right, because I felt I was too soft. I knew I didn't quite, in fact, they offered me forensics, interestingly enough, because I came first in law. Overall, I was second because we have things like making your beds in the morning, drilling with the rifle, swimming and judo and karate, all kind of things that add in points for. In the classroom, I was first. In law, I was unbeatable. But other things, a guy just nicks me because he was better at the drills and the disciplines, shooting on the range and things like that.
Did you not always make your bed in the morning?
I did. I mean, we all had to. It's not a matter of, there was a kind of regimental army style to it, but some people are better at these things than others. You're folding it in the corners, and your area have to be very clean and speak and span. You have to rise at a certain hour. It's like being in the army. Yeah,
Yeah,
I spent 6 months in a training school.
very good, very good. They're very chatty in the background, which I love. I love when they interact with each other. Also have Cheryl here, so hi Cheryl. And Cheryl's here and Greg Etzel, I think we already said. And is Marissa Prada.
Oh, Marisa. Oh, glory to Marisa. Tell her she's in my prayers. She works too much. I thought you worked hard on it, but she works harder than you.
That she went 2 days without sleep too.
Probably most times.
Well, bless her. It's time to retire. Let's just go retire. So that would be lovely. But yeah, I'm gonna
Well, she
work.
has a big thing in Texas coming up. I mean, you probably know about it. The New York Poetry Festival. Marisha's sprung out into doing her own. By the way, she is the publisher of my book called Blossoms of the Heart. So let me flog her at the same time. If you need the book, Marisha sells it.
Very good, very good. That's wonderful to know. It's in New Mexico, it says, and it's a poetry summit and expo. I've been trying to get together a poetry retreat for 2 or 3 years, and finally somebody did this past year. It was
There's a
right.
girl in England that does it. She's one of the best poets in London. They're known as Flow Vortex, and they have a website called flowvortex.com. They do retreats. And
Well, one day I want to have a poetry cruise. We just get the cruise ship and we go to. Wouldn't that be
ah,
fun? That
that's
would
a
be.
big, big dream.
Well, it's a big dream. That's just it. It's a dream.
They're
But
not cheap.
no, 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 they're not. They're not. And somebody said we'll get together soon. Who are you that said that? Because I'd like to get together with anybody.
Maybe Marisha.
It might be.
Yeah.
Haha, I never slept either. Jill's talking about that. So we're just going to ignore them and we're going to focus on you right now. So
Okay.
y'all chat amongst yourselves and enjoy this wonderful poet that we have here this evening. I'm going to ask you the question. I don't know if you watched any pop chats, but I ask everybody, then they come on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that so you equally get to share your um, we'll get your response in just a minute. So you come across Aladdin's lamp tomorrow, then you are granted 3 wishes. You can have anything you want. What would you wish for?
You're talking to me, I presume, right?
No, I'm talking. Yes, of course I am.
Because you mentioned in the audience from time to time. To
I
tell you the
know, but
truth,
I said we're going to ignore them right now. So we're
yeah,
focusing on you.
my greatest blessing by far was running into my spiritual teacher in 1982, 1st of October. I always remember it. And the highest aspect of his teaching is very much in line with the Christ. It's called total and unconditional surrender to the will of the Supreme, meaning let thy will be done, or may thy will be done in and through me. I basically want nothing else but unconditional surrender, if that's your question.
That's one wish. Now you get two more. Anything you want in the world.
Well, I would like my guru to be happy when he sees me entering the pearly gates and he says, my child, you've done well. I'm very proud of you.
That's a lovely wish. And then what else? What more?
Service has been a big part of my life. I get tremendous joy from service. I traveled the world for 41 years, serving. The biggest aspect, it ties in with spirituality, I think, because I get so much joy from it. So, and my mother was a servant all her life. So, service is a big deal for me.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. You're in a very giving role. Nursing is.
Indeed. And most of the things I did relate to service. As a policeman, too, I think, yes.
But do you ever give back to yourself?
Well, we think in terms of the meditation. Like I have a shrine in my room, and for the last 41 years, I haven't missed a day of meditation. So the prayers and the singing, I go to a center twice a week. So we talk in terms of the cornerstone of spiritual philosophy is what we call aspiration and manifestation. First, you receive, and what you get, you manifest it in the world in which you live. So
Very.
the getting comes from the prayer life, the singing of songs, the sadhana, meaning spiritual practice, and then what you get from grace, if you like. My teacher is always talking about light, meaning a higher light. Whatever that higher light gives you, you express it in the world in which through which you live. So they go together, the inner life and the outer life working in harmony.
Yeah. Have you heard of a book? Because as you're speaking about your spirituality and that side of you. It's reminding about this book that a friend of mine recommended called um, The Monk Who Sold His Red Ferrari. Have you read that?
Yes, I read that one. It's a very interesting book. There are a few books like that. There was a guy who's, I think, made sold millions of. It was it called? Was it Jack Cornfield? I can't remember the name of the book, but I think he might be the author.
He,
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
yeah,
Is that so?
that's what I was just going to say. He did the
Ye-
chicken soup. Hmm.
Yeah, that case is similar, but yeah, I like the one who sold the man. It's an interesting tale. They're telling spirituality in a kind of story form. Yeah, which is very beautiful. I read those books long ago.
Yeah, I did too, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So long ago. So we came up with the size, or I did. You obliged. No, I'm sorry. I have to fess up. You cheated.
I cheated?
Yeah, you did. You cheated. So,
Why?
so usually I ask a poet to come up with a title, and we both write on it and present at the time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
How did you cheat? And I just kind of let you get by with it. But how did you cheat?
Well, mine was already written. I write all the time. I suppose I could easily have done something if you gave me a title. I think you asked me to come up with a title.
Yeah,
Partly I cheated, partly because I actually like that poem very much. It's the fourth one on my list. I've got one called The Lion and the Sheep. And after that is Homage for the Light, which is the topic I gave you.
right.
And it's a short poem, but I love it very much, and it relates to the light. Many of my poems relate to light and beauty.
So if you can present that now, I'd like to do that. If you can present.
Okay, so I skip the third and I go straight to the fourth.
That.
Homage to the light.
Hold on a second. Let me give you the stage. And
I can hear yours first if you want me to.
I'm sorry, sir.
I was saying I could hear yours first if you want me to. You wrote one, no?
Oh, I always go last. Guests first.
Okay. All right, that is true. That is true. Tell me when we're ready.
We are ready. See,
Oh, oh, shoot.
see how I just gave you the stage. There's just you up there. Whenever that happens, that means you are on.
Great. Thank you. Homage to the light. Love dries the copious tears spilling from my broken dreams, the heaviness of loneliness, the stains of deep remorse. Gently, she pats the roses covering the scars where thorns once sat, enmeshed in a foliage of desires. You've done well, she whispers. The light that shines within has erased the darkness of a shadowed past. Arise, my sweet, sweet angel. The bruit of past regrets shall no more shine. The fragrance of the dawn is gleaming. I felt my shoulders breathe. My heart cried tears of joy, the soul now laughing with the sun. Love kissed my wounds, no more the toil of suffering and despair, for I was born anew. The voice of freedom sang to me, her bird of hope, now perching on my newfound dreams of bliss divine, my lack of expectations. I bowed, paid homage to the light, paid homage to the light.
That was absolutely beautiful. I have to laugh because at the beginning you said you wrote a short poem, but that is quite long compared to mine. Who mine is probably more of a micro poem, I suppose. It's very short because I did the last minute today, and I wrote it in my delirium today.
Yeah.
So I was in and out of that sleep state, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
God
feel
only knows what it's going to sound like, you
you
know.
have my empathies.
Thank you. It's very, very short.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, this would probably be just one long sentence for you, the whole poem. But it's called Homage to the Light. Imagine that.
Hmm.
A brilliant light casts its rays amidst a finite shroud of darkness. The warmth that emits radiates into the core of one's soul. Once surrounded by darkness, drowning in murky waters of life, no obscure or hidden meaning, for its purpose is widely known to its recipients. For unlike its predecessor, its meaning is not hidden behind the veil of darkness. The light's purpose is blatantly clear to all who partake of its radiance. It's merely existence. It is to inoculate the earth with the essence of love. As we pay homage to the light, may we discover the light within us.
Very beautiful. So your ending is kind of similar to mine because you're taking it to that light which embodies the outer attributes, but is an inward state. That's how we mystic thinks about it. My teacher spoke constantly of the light, and he wasn't necessarily relating to sun, moon, or stars. He was relating to that which awakens, that which illumines, that which transforms. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be twins separated at birth. Maybe we have so much in common.
We probably have soulmates, right?
We're twins separated at birth because we kind of write similar, think similarly. So when were you born?
10 February 1952.
Well, mom would have had to stay in labor for a bit long. You know what I mean? So we might not have been separated at birth. So,
But it's not unusual in mystic philosophy for one soul in heaven to follow another soul because they know they're going to meet up and they're going to carry on with similar missions.
do you know? I wrote a poem. I don't know, within last year, and it's called "I Am Saved." I am saved.
Hmm.
Is the name of it, because one of my pet peeves was always people would say, "Well, when were you saved?" And I'd say, "I don't have a date. I've always known I'm a child of God." So, but I have this memory somewhere. This is weird. I don't remember it as a dream. I just remember it as a memory where it's like I'm a spiritual being. I'm like up in heaven,
Yeah,
like next to God.
yeah.
And we're looking down, and he says, "Okay, it's time to be born." And boom, I'm gone.
That's
So
all spiritual masters, they empower us to accept, to see the light, to know that we are in fact the soul and that we are immortal. So in that sense, there's no weakness at all. Everything else is a kind of camouflage. It's necessary, it's part of the journey. But once you know that you are essentially the soul, then it's easier to think of light and strength and to rise like Maya Angelou. She's constantly rising.
yes, indeed, yes, indeed. So I'm going to ask you another question, quick question, and I occasionally ask this one, not all the time.
Hmm.
But if you could be an animal, what animal would you be,
Mm.
and why?
Well, it's like, in a sense, it's like asking me about boxing because my Guruji has talked about everything. So I look at virtues or qualities. So if you're thinking of the dog, for instance, there is loyalty and devotion. You see what I mean? So I like, and in fact, I had a dog when I was much younger. The dog follows faithfulness, that kind of faithfulness. They're very filial, if that's the word, and that sense of devotion and following the master is like a disciple follows the master. The dog has that kind of devotion, and I mean there are other animals which I write a lot about. Sometimes when I'm talking about strength or dauntlessness, I might use the lion or even the lioness, and we use mm, whales in relation to certain spiritual qualities. In fact, I use different animals for different, according to the context in which I'm doing spirituality. But devotion is means a lot to us, and the dog, I am afraid, it comes out with a lot of kudos,
Oh,
loyalty, and devotion.
very good.
Yeah.
So that you would be a dog.
Yes, although we don't talk in terms of uh, going back. In a spiritual life, evolution is quite significant, and this idea of progress, of moving forward constantly. I used to think of God in Christianity like static. I grew up in Christianity. I only learned the concept of self-transcendence when I met my teacher. That is to say, there's a spiritual evolution, and the game is to keep going higher and higher and higher. Progress, they call it, not failure, not success, but progress.
Yes, indeed.
Progress, an ever evolving game, an ever evolving journey. So it's very unusual in Sri Chinmoy's teachings to go backwards. So although I love the devotion and loyalty of the dogs, we don't think in terms of going back, we think in terms of going forward.
Yeah.
Because of the four forms of life, the human life is the highest. And the next highest stage is the divine, of course, like the seers and sages and rishis, whatever you call them. So we already gone past the mineral life, the animal life, and we've entered the human life.
Yeah.
We've gone past the vegetable kingdom. So although one can go back, it's very unusual from a mystical standpoint, unless God wants the game. I mean, God is omnipotent, and we understand that God is in charge of His own creation. He can do anything really, but generally the trend is an upward trend.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Is there anyone else? Well, I asked about your mother earlier, but is there anyone else in your family that can write well?
My sister, I told you she was the journalist. Well, they can all write, but my sister was the journalist. She was very good at writing too. And my daughter is actually doing Well, I'll be going to her, God's willing, a graduation in July. She's doing English and creative writing plus major in film studies. Then she goes on to her master's.
Wonderful. Sounds like she's lovely, but she had a good role model. So yeah,
Indeed.
I'm trying to find. Okay, so Paul Williams. I think I don't know if he's here or not. She says just has not mentions him. Anyway, we have some more comments, and then we have owl. Yeah, I that's what I thought you'd be an owl because you have a lot of wisdom. So,
They can't see in the dark.
oh,
They can't see the light. But in any case, if you read Rumi a lot, both light and darkness, uh, are the dance both light and
just
darkness
get,
are the
just,
dance of love.
you just get night vision glasses and you'll be fine. So yeah, I think it probably would be acceptable in this day and age.
Yeah, they're
Um,
cute. They have a lot of cuteness,
yeah, they
and
do.
they have come up in my poetry from time to time. But my favorite are birds because for me everything is cadence and music and harmony and rhapsody and arias and symphonies. And so I think of the nightingales and the sparrows and the starlings and hummingbirds. And that's the way I tend to go when it comes to music. I use birds quite a lot, and
Yes,
when it comes to images, I use the moon and stars quite a lot.
yeah,
Colors.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I use both of those too. I use birds a lot and birds and moon and stars. So I gotcha. Zan Johns is here. Hey Zan, good to have you. Thank you for hopping on. So and somebody said, "What a voice!" I think they're talking about your voice.
All right, right. So people can hear me. It's a shame I can't see anybody. Maybe if I was on a desktop, I probably would be able to. But I don't know how StreamYard. I don't remember being able to see people too much. I think I did see StreamYard has changed again. I think it was slightly different than the old.
This way is more spontaneous, and it's like surprise. Guess who's on again? So and again, Zan says hi, but I think they might be talking amongst themselves. So we're gonna ignore you all. We're gonna move on. And what I want you to do is to recite a couple more poems for us, if you would,
Sure.
sir. It's
Give
delight.
them my love because I could have friends in there. I can't see anyone, but thank you guys and for coming and my love. I express my love. Yeah. So
At
I would.
the show when it gets posted, you'll be able to see who is talking. So
Okay.
yeah, you'll be able to catch up with it. So I'm going to give you the stage again. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The Lion and the Sheep. Born a lion, I believe myself to be a sheep. I roam for millennia, lost in a desert of delusion, enjoying the ignorance of separation. Bleating, bleating, my fate seemingly sealed, making unusual noises in a jungle of despair. Until one day, I heard a roar within a streak of light, felt an inner energy severing my illusionary fetters. A great lioness chanted my glories, holding a magical mirror to my face. I saw myself, like my fellow comrade, in the blazing temple of supernal love. Rediscovering the voice of my original fullness, I rode with the power of innumerable lions, dancing with the delight of unspoken prodigals. That's that one. I go past homage to the light and I come on to I know you are waiting, my queen. I know you are waiting, my beloved, for my shame to become light like the breeze, my unworthiness to be transformed into the integrity and innocence of a snow white heart. I know you are waiting, my beloved, to take me into your arms and kiss me, absorbing the copious tears of millennia from my beautiful gaze to burn the remorse that chains me, the ones I carry like scars. I know you are waiting, my beloved, to transform my fears, to turn my belief systems into a faith based on the sweetness of your beauty inside my heart, to recognize that even conflicts are subjected to your sacred dance, that I should never worry about the things I cannot change. For you are the pain in my abyss, the loneliness in my despair, the rhythm of the nightingale's melody, just when I needed it most. Even as your rainbow beauty stabs the sweet citadel of my heart with the majesty of an ever effulgent luster. I know you are waiting, my beloved, for you care far too much to rush me, that you would not trade me even for a zillion souls as I carry a most precious wine, a spark that's eternal and timeless, even as my soul sings endlessly of your peerless grandeur, the ineffable grace and glory of your love. Finally, I know that you have given me wings to fly, that when the burden seems ever so heavy to carry, we merge, you canceling my yoke of eons only to blend into the phoenixes of my core, so we can both soar to enlightenment, entering the fiery temple of the sun. Ah, you understand?
Absolutely beautiful. Your poetry is wonderful. How long does it take you to write an average piece?
Well, I wrote that one today. That's one of those I wrote today, and maybe 10 minutes. What I can,
Really?
yeah, what I sometimes do, I take one-liners. I suppose a few people do that. You know, I'm walking the street and something just click, or I'm listening to a poet and something just click, or I'm getting out of bed and something click. And I carry my pad with me and I write a few lines. And when I have about 10 lines, I suddenly decide to write a poem. So I already have the lines. And the moment I begin to look at the line, patterns take shape quite quickly into my head. And once start using Microsoft, something is trying to put them into place.
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. So your brains and your brain is trying to put things in place?
Yes, yes, yes. Um,
Gotcha.
I I feel more than I think. You know, my name, I've got the name Manatita. It's a Sanskrit word meaning beyond the mind and in the heart of our Lord, beloved Supreme. It was given to me by my teacher. It means someone who lives in the heart, and I feel it a lot. Much of the time, I'm feeling rather than thinking.
Right. So tell me about how you got the pen name, I'm guessing Lantern Carrier.
It's not a pen. Oh, lantern care. Oh, sorry. Yes, I gave it to myself. I was first called the Bard of Solace, because I did such beautiful poetry. You know, and one
Mhm.
day somebody gave us the theme, and you know, a creative writer can write on anything, and I think it was called "Poems Not Bombs" or something like that. So I wrote a piece called "A Sad Face of War." And I have this young girl on a battlefield, very much like current events, but I wrote it a few years ago, and things are happening all around. And I've got these destructive demons dropping from the sky, and people running helter and skelter, and sirens screaming and stuff like that. And but I express it very poetically, and then you know things are happening. There's a lot of imagery in the poem. And when I was finished, the host says, what a beautiful poem, she says. She says, I love it so much. It's so meaningful and so impactful. But I couldn't feel a solace in the poem because she called me the Bard of Solace. That was my name. And for me, everything I do has light. There's a meaning and a purpose in the concealed messages. So I knew it had the light I wanted it to have. So I thought I'd find another way, another name to address that problem. So I changed, that was many years ago. I changed from the Bard of Solace to the Lantern Carrier because to me, a light bearer would see the light in the darkness as much as he sees it in the beauty. For me, they're all necessary. They're all
Yeah,
part and parcel of the play.
yeah.
So that's why I changed the name. You know, in our darkness there is light. So, but she didn't see it that way.
Yes, indeed. So is there any kind of advice that you would give poets that are maybe just starting and they don't know much about writing? They
Well, someone asked me about that recently. Let me just stay away from the spiritual life and be practical. And I was telling her that I use basically about 8 words in poetry. And she says, "Really?" She said, "Tell me about it." And I started telling her about it. And she says, "Wow, we must meet to have a coffee." And then we did. And then I thought to myself, why don't I put it on paper? Because another girl, an American girl who does features a lot, she was asking me about my process. So I wrote a whole piece on that. I'd already written about the art of poetry before. I have like 750 poems on something called hubpages.com. Um, but then I wrote something about it. But the advice I would give is, and humans are different. I accept that we all relate to poetry in different ways. But the 8 words I use, you probably use them. We all using them in one way or the other. But I choose the word nature. Right, that's one of them. For instance, I talk about the moon, the sun, the stars, flowers. Very important to me, very close. So that's one word, nature. But those words merge. For instance, if I talk about the word light, that's my second word. Then the moon and the sunsets and the rainbows and the horizon, they're all involved. And when I talk about light, I talk about light also. I use abstracts. For instance, luster, candescence, iridescence, resplendence, glimmer, glisten. You see what I'm saying? So
Amen.
I take these words and I expand on them. Then I use the word cadences. For me, cadences, I bring in tempo, rhythm, again, musicality. I bring in arias and concertos and instruments. Like I talk a lot about the lute, love is like the lute player, sort of
Yeah.
thing like that, and then I bring in the violin and I express things in different ways. So this word cadence is my third word, covers a lot. Then I have a word which is a very interesting word. I call it superlative, or I speak of what I call superlatives. So if I wanted to say Annette is beautiful, it doesn't sound enough. I want to lift it up. If I want to lift it a little bit more, I would say she's the quintessence of beauty. She's an epitome of beauty. She's a pinnacle of beauty, sort of thing. So the pinnacle, the epitome, the quintessence are words I call superlatives. I always add something to what I'm trying to say to elevate it a bit more. I call them superlatives. That's number 4. Um, well, music and cadence is all involved together. I've gone blank now. There's 7 or 8 of them, which I'm using constantly. Nature, let's start again. Nature,
Yeah.
light, love. Love is crucial to me. Love is almost in everything I use. I bring in love and speak of love a lot.
Yeah.
In its various aspects, nature, light, love, cadences, superlatives, and then I use the senses. Can they see it? Can they hear it? Can they feel it? Can they taste it? Can they touch it? So the
Yeah.
senses are important to me. Then I use the body quite a lot. Whether I'm talking about uh, love held me on its bosom, you know, or the energy of a burning spine, you
Mhm.
know. So I'm using, or I might talk about the glow of the melanin skin. I think of the body and I create images to go with it.
Very good.
Yeah,
Say it one more time. One more time. What you just said. You
but
take.
images. I use the body and I take images to go with it. Whether it's to let's say love stabbed my heart with its kisses. I'm using the lips there. Or uh, uh, she was caught up in the remorse of I'm trying to create something. I'm trying to think of tears and copious tears. I'm trying to think of the eyes. Sometimes I use the eyes for gazing, like at the moon, at the constellations, and sometimes I use the eyes for weeping. But I create images to make it work.
Of
Uh,
course, imagery is wonderful. I
is it
just
something?
realized
I
you were
use the
talking.
body quite a lot.
Yeah, you were just
Mhm.
talking about the body parts, the eyes, and so forth. I just wrote one the other day called. I think it's called "Lips, Eyes, and Hands." or eyes, lips, and hands, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, they tell us a lot, you know. The eyes are the seat of the soul. But I don't like using cliches. If I hear something, and it's because if you're sitting in a, I used to do it quite a lot. You sit in a poetry room, nearly everyone has a cliche in the poem. So if I hear it, I change it around so that
Yeah,
it doesn't become the regular thing, you know. So that it doesn't become like dotting the i's and crossing the t's. You know, it's just everybody
right.
knows that. You know,
Right.
I want to feel I'm creating. I'm a creative. Yeah, I like
Right.
to change it.
Do you ever write just totally fiction and tell a story?
Tons of them. I have lots of flash fiction. I'm a creative writer. I have like 850 hubs on that hubpages.com I was telling you about. Some are plays, some are short stories, some are
Huh?
flash fictions, some
That's
are essays on yoga and meditation. But the bulk of the work is poetry. I have like 730 something poems, and the
yeah.
rest essays on yoga and the spiritual life and plays and a lot of. I like flash fiction a lot.
Yeah.
There's this guy called Clive now of Ubi Hive. You probably everyone knows Clive. He started doing flash fiction. I like his style. I mean, he doesn't seem to have had much experience. He just started and he's so good. I like the way. And Jeff Cottrell of Canada, he's pretty good at
You're
that
not
too.
talking Clive Norman, are you?
Clive
Not
Usman. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I started writing short stories too. I really enjoyed that. I like doing that imagery and so forth and so
I
on.
was doing them in my teens. I had this thing, teacher might have said at one point, choose vague topics and write a lot about them. So the golden rule of writing is practice, 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 read, read, read. And I did a lot of that when I was very young. So I just said the sky or the earth, or just choose something, keep writing on it about it until I kind of perfected the art. I would do detective stories and, sort of, you know, Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie type stuff. And I built on that quite a lot. But again, I was naturally good at written English and grammar. I came to England as a nurse and I was helping the girls to spell. I was quite surprised, I'm there in this nursing college and people coming to me. I'm looking at their work and I'm correcting the work for them and helping them to spell. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you want to be like the lantern carrier, all you have to do is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Write a lot, write a lot, read a lot, write a lot, read a lot, and read the great writers. Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, the Bronte sisters, Charles Dickens is one of the best writers in the English literature. Apart from the poets, they're great writers too. And America has good writers. I mean, and poets, Emily Dickinson and Walt Whitman and Henry
Yeah.
Wadsworth Longfellow. I like Longfellow quite a lot.
I love Longfellow. He's one of my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
I in my haste, I forgot to bring my plug-in, and actually we're at kind of at the end of the time, so might be a good time to wrap things up.
Okay.
Before I just go black, as far as if I disappear, that's what's happened. So if I disappear,
Hmm.
it's your responsibility to close the show. So um, just FYI, you got to have my back here. Um, but I just want to tell you what a pleasure it is to have had you here this evening to listen not only to your wonderful poetry, which is so, so very beautiful, and no wonder, you have honed the craft by writing prolifically for all these years. So you definitely have made an impact in the literary world, giving us your gift of works.
Thank
So
you.
yes, thank you for that, and also would like to thank you for opening up and telling us more about you and your thought processes. And it's been a very enlightening show because you really do, you kind of embody enlightenment. So thank you so much for being you and for joining us this evening, sir.
Thank you. I want to express my gratitude to Dr. Anthony Ingrams. I think it was he who recommended you to me. I think I believe so. Yeah, he told me
And
about it
he
too.
recommended you to me. So he's a double agent. He's he's
Double
recommending
agent.
us to. He's recommending us. Yeah, to
He's a
each other.
James Bond, is he?
He's a James. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Play on
And
words.
thank
Yes,
you, Dr. Anthony or
and
Michael.
thank you for having me. I mean, you've been so beautiful, and it's nice to know you're a receptive soul like myself, and you're on those kind of wavelengths. So it makes it easier for me to talk to you.
Yeah,
Very often, each venue has its own vibration, and sometimes I have to write in an entirely different way because I'm catering to a particular crowd. But my main genre, what gives me joy the most, is poems like what I did with you and deeper mystical poetry. Some I do with David Leo Seward because he's very in tune, a very in tune kind of guy. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure indeed. And thank you again. And thank you, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram. We are indebted to you. He's given me lots of names and so forth, and lots of leads on people who are wonderful like you. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So good night, everyone. Love and blessings to you all. And please, once this is done, please share it with others. So good night, and thank you so much.
My gratitude to the audience as well, to the poets. I'm sure there are a lot of poets. I can't see them, but I'm expressing my gratitude much. Muchísimas gracias, señoras, señores, todos.
Yes, thank you so much for your support. Take
Thank you.
care, everyone. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.